Hey everyone, James here from TDB, bringing you another Inbetweenisode today. This is actually the first Inbetweenisode I'm filming in quite a few months. I tend to do these things in batches, so one thing I will be doing is I will be doing a Q&A episode. I think I already released the video for that to send any questions, but that's something I will be doing soon. So if you have any questions you'd like to ask, or even ideas for episode, I'm always open to those things. I have done a whole lot of episodes at this point, so I start to retread ground a fair amount, and I think that's just kind of like a natural tendency to someone that's been drinking tea for this long. And I even start to forget some of those episodes that we've done. I mean, I've done about 250, 260 of these things, and we are over 400 episodes, so that's just a lot of videos. So today it's going to be a fairly routine one, going to be reviewing a ripe tea, the 2018 Munghai 0562, and going to be talking also just a little bit about what, in my opinion, is one of the most reliable bets in trying a category of tea, and that's to go for the Munghai Tea Factory numbered ripe recipes. And these teas are almost always not very expensive unless you're aiming for something older, which in case some of this will start to not be as relevant. And you don't even need to aim for something particularly aged. This one, I checked back on my notes. I bought this, I think about a year ago from yunansourcing.us. I think it was around $40 or so, 2018, so just a couple of years old. Don't need to even buy a couple of years old. I'd be perfectly comfortable drinking 2020, 2021 tea from Munghai Tea Factory too. And these people just are really very much the standard of ripe pu'erh, and they just make really solid tea. And I think when you're drinking different categories of tea, oftentimes one thing you can do is you can have a bad example of that category of tea, and you might think you don't like this type of tea, but in reality you just had a bad example of raw pu'erh, or one that's just not to your taste. In the case of ripe, I think I'm fairly confident in saying this, that if you have a couple Munghai Tea Factory numbered recipes and you don't care for them, you probably just don't like ripe at that moment, because these are very much very standard, very decent quality, and very they are a good representative of the category of ripe pu'erh. If you buy some more dinky stuff from Yeon or something from Chinatown that who knows what the storage was for that or what the quality of tea was to start with, not necessarily the best example of what is going to be very representative. I think Munghai Tea Factory, they do a good job. It's solidly above average tea. It's from the Munghai area generally, which is a good area for ripe tea. It's nice and robust. And so this is a recipe, 0562. If you are totally unfamiliar with ripe tea, I'll just quickly run through those numbers. 05 means it was developed in the year 2005. You'll run into like 7572. That means it was developed in 1975. The 6, the average leaf grade for the tea. So 0 to 9 is the grading there. Larger means bigger leaves, so 6 would mean mid to large grade leaves, and 2 just stands for Munghai Tea Factory. So all Munghai Tea Factory recipes will end in the number 2. So this is not a recipe I am particularly familiar with. I don't know how similar it is to the 7262 because that tea also has average of 6th grade leaf. But I do know that I have been drinking through the cake, and I am almost all the way through it, and it is time to review it as a result. So just been drinking it pretty steadily in my big blue pot. I guess the ripe teas I have in weekday mornings with my wife are probably the most regular teas that I do have, and I tend to gravitate between stuff like this, occasionally Yunnan sourcing brand, and some Yeon tea, and I just kind of switch back and forth. They're all pretty affordable teas. For instance, I think I used 8.7 grams this morning. This is a big blue plot. Man, I've messed up the size on that for years, so I'm almost hesitant to say, but I believe it's 185 milliliters, and I brew it very casually. Ripe is a very casual tea for myself, so I am not particularly anal retentive on exactly how long it needs to steep for. So that, yeah, I think, yeah, so I would, so you know, I've been drinking a lot of Yeon tea, a lot of other ripe, and then coming back to these Dayi teas, I'm just like, oh man, This is just really good. It's just very solid, and I do think it's just bringing something a little bit different to the table than the Yeon tea, which I am also quite a fan of. So for me, I that kind of mix of 50-50 between Yeon and stuff like Munghai Tea Factory. It's just a really good mix for me, and it makes it so I can really appreciate these sort of differences in the category too. So after coming off a long stretch of drinking a lot of Yeon teas and coming back to this, it really has hit the spot here. So again, I have done a number of brews throughout the day, but still brewing a pretty solid color. This is maybe steep 6, something like that. So let's have a taste. Just good solid body. When you steep it for this long, you probably need to extend the steep a little more. I think I'll go a little bit longer here. A little bit of minerally grainy texture, good sweetness to this. Of course, all of these Munghai Tea Factory teas are very much blends, so you know it has a mix of stuff there. So the flavor profile has kind of like that nice different texture to it. Definitely very different from like a very, very single origin sort of tea, kind of the polar opposite in many ways. And let me know what your favorite Munghai Tea Factory recipes are. I tend to like most of them. I think I tend to like leaf grade that is like mid to high. I like the 7452. I like the 7572. It's been a long time since I've had the 8592, but I did like that when I had that 6 or 7 years ago, kind of regularly. I finished off a cake. I also do like the tippier recipes. Those tend to be a little bit higher in price. Let's see, what is there? The V93 is kind of a good example of like a lighter fermented one. I have a Malaysian stored example that I will be bringing on with Denny soon. So let me know what ripe recipes from Munghai Tea Factory or elsewhere you do like. And one interesting thing is I did recently have one of Denny's favorites, the Shaguan Xiaofa tool. And it's a solid tea, but for me, I think I'm a Munghai guy. And I think I like the Munghai ripes. And I think they're just a little bit better. I like the material that goes into that more. And I just really think they know what they're doing as far as these ripes go. So I do like Shaguan generally as far as tea goes. But for me, I would probably gravitate a little bit more to the raw Pu'erh Shaguan. And for Dayi, I do tend to like both the raw and the ripe. So you can see here, very casual brewing. There was even a little bit of stuff left over in the last brew. That's okay. It'll just cool this down slightly for it, so give me a chance to dig in. And yeah, you see brewing a really steady color, probably running a little bit out of steam. This will probably be the last steep of the day for me. Just something nice where you can brew a cup or two every couple hours. Just nice to have a cup of tea throughout the day. For me, this is the same room I work in, so just kind of slowly going through a pot as the day goes on. Yeah, so gravitating a little bit more towards those milky, creamy. There's not a ton of complexity at this level, but you know, I'm not really looking for a ton of complexity when it comes for these ripes. I'm just looking for something robust and solid, and that's exactly what this Munghai Tea Factory 0562 is. So it comes with a recommendation for me, with the caveat being that I recommend the Munghai numbered recipes in general. And those recipes tend to be very much in the mass production, and these are not the special recipes that they're going to make, so they're not going to be too expensive. I've also had a little bit of mixed results when you aim for the tier that tends to be priced below these. Sometimes the tea is just fine. Other times I think I would rather stick with something like a 7572 or a 0562. I don't remember the productions exactly off the top of my head. Munghai Tea Factory makes a ton of different teas, so depending on the year. Yeah, so just really solid, creamy, grainy, perfect example of a daily drinker ripe for myself. And I say that in the best possible sense because ripe daily drinkers are what I drink. I tend to not drink things that I see as non-daily drinkers for ripe. So kind of perfect as far as this category goes. I will be finishing off this cake probably in the next week or so. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Let me know what you'd like to see. Sorry, so I forgot to give the rating. 6.1 is the rating, and I will see you all next time. So that's very much kind of down the line, very kind of like above average, I'd say, as far as the ripes I tend to like. So thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you all next time.